Hello, welcome back to my channel. This is definitely a video about camping in the Brecon Beacons. However, first, can we just take a minute to appreciate this chair? This is an authentic 1970s Filipino hand-woven peacock chair. I'm not usually one for retail therapy. Over the years, I've had more than enough vices to be cracking on with. But right now, I'm going to collect a chair which I popped into this little antique shop yesterday and fell in love with it. It's like this handmade wicker throne thing. So here it is, my peacock chair.
Is that yours?
Yeah, I just bought it last night, yeah.
Oh, did you?
Like I say, I'm not usually one for pointless purchases, but this chair was hand woven. You don't see chairs like this very often, and I needed the chair. The door of my house is like strangely small, so I've only just realized that this chair might not actually fit through the front door. Oh. Hand woven. I mean, come on. Okay, so a couple of weeks ago, a guy that I don't really know that well invited me on a sub-zero camping trip to the Brecon Beacons with a couple of his mates. Now, this guy's a bushcraft instructor, so he knows how to survive in the wild and build shelters and start fires and hunt and basically make sure that we don't die. Do you ever get those things where you imagine that you want to do it and you tell yourself that you want to do it and you actually genuinely believe that you want to do this thing, and yet when the opportunity actually arises, it's like, it's easier to think you want to do things sometimes than it is to actually do them. It's like, maybe it's a little bit too cold out there. Maybe I'll just stay at home. Maybe I'll do it in the summer. Maybe I shouldn't do it at the moment because I've got a bad back. Maybe I don't really know these guys that well. Hey, maybe going into the mountains at -6 temperatures, maybe that's actually stupid. I'm going to get ill. All these ideas start going through your head to make you not do the thing that you actually really wanted to do. Also, in a way, I suppose I had something to prove to myself because I've always considered myself an adventurous person. I've cycled the length of Great Britain. Your brain will try to give up on you long before your legs. I've been skydiving. I've hitchhiked the length of Thailand with a Morrison's plastic bag tied to a pink mop. And I once found myself walking across a sort of thin log over a 100-meter waterfall in Laos. But the thing about all of these activities is that they weren't that adventurous because I wanted to do them all. I enjoyed cycling, I enjoyed skydiving, I didn't push myself out my comfort zone. But I hate the cold, like hate the cold. So the idea of going and sleeping in -6 temperatures in the hills was a really horrible idea. So this is the story of how I found myself in the middle of January with 3 guys I barely know, strolling into the Welsh mountains with no tent or no cooking equipment. I'm Seb Whitehouse. Welcome back to the Seb Whitehouse Show. I'm in the Brecon Beacons and I'm with Caleb, with Dave, who I met this morning. Shut up. And we got Ben and Hercules the dog back there. Caleb's a bushcraft instructor, which long story short means he knows how to survive in the wild, which might come in useful tonight, because that's exactly what we're trying to do. I've got a kilogram sea bass, Ben has got some venison, and we're going to cook it on the open fire and we're going to sleep outside. Which is going to be interesting.
We can't have this, can we?
That stubbornness sometimes.
Yay! Good boy! We've been going for about, I'd say like 2.5 hours. Do you reckon?
Oh yeah, I reckon more.
Maybe 3?
Yeah, I reckon 3.
For about 3 hours with these heavy bags on my back. The problem is we don't really have a destination, but none of the woodland we've looked at is suitable for sleeping. Basically, it's either too uneven, or the trees are too dense, or it's basically just too wet. But we've only got like a few hours until the sun goes down, and we need to build a shelter, collect loads of firewood, and start cooking our food. So, well, we'll see what happens. How are you feeling? Confident on a scale of 1 to 10?
I still feel pretty good. Once we find the camp, we're going to be sorted. We're going to nail it.
Yeah.
The tops are going to go up, and we'll get the firewood sorted.
Yeah.
It's just finding that base. Why I think this is the crucial point that we're at now. We've just been walking down all these paths, and we've not ventured that much off of the paths.
What are the odds of us finding somewhere that we can sleep and cook this tonight then? How confident are you feeling right now?
6 out of 10.
6 out of 10?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll do me, mate. Alright, so we found the spot we're sleeping at tonight. Apparently it's not like perfect, but it's viable. Caleb, you've got to give a quick explanation on the pros and cons of this spot.
Well, there's some boggy marshland around the area. We've got super dense woodland, and the ground's quite arable, so it's not perfect for us to sleep on, but we're running out of time. We've been hiking through these woods for hours now.
Yeah.
So we're just going to make do. This precarious wood is a time saver because we're running out of sunlight. We've only probably got 2 hours left. We're just going to lash this from tree to tree, and then we're going to build the rest.
So at this point, it was about 4 o'clock, and we had been hiking for hours and then spent a similar amount of time gathering wood and chopping up wood. And I personally was starting to feel a little bit delirious. We hadn't eaten since breakfast, and it was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. My back was killing me. My eye was crossing into my eyes because when I get tired, I get a lazy eye. And I guess there was that kind of sinking feeling of like, okay, we actually have to sleep here. Now, I should caveat that by saying I was also loving being there. Everyone was getting on really well. There was a feeling of camaraderie between us. It was all very positive, but the ground was wet. Gloves and shoes were starting to get wet. The temperature was plummeting, and the kind of realization of like, okay, cool, there is no going home now. And again, I was still kind of scared of the cold at this point. But my kind of slightly questionable morale internally at that point was completely lifted by this incredible experience of watching Caleb create fire with no lighter by essentially just, well, I don't know how it works, but it looked like he was just rubbing 2 sticks together.
To start to fire. It's pretty impressive. And then my tinder bundle.
Yeah, mate, that's fucking impressive, man. Jesus.
Yeah.
But even when it's really, really wet, like we were saying, you get that hot base. Once you've got that, you're absolutely fine.
Yeah,
It can piss down with rain, and it will
Yeah,
still
yeah.
go.
What time do you think it is?
Time?
Yeah.
God, it feels like about 10 o'clock already, but only because it's getting cold.
Yeah, it's getting chilly now. It must be like 5 or something, right?
Yeah.
So just as it was starting to get dark, Caleb's friend Matt showed up. That's right, he just turned up like we're at the local pub, like he lived next door. Matt just wanders through the forest with his bicycle and finds us. Matt, as it turns out, was planning on sleeping on Penny Fan on his own that evening. But obviously he found out that we were doing something quite similar on the same night, and he came and joined us again. So Matt kind of emerges through the forest and comes, and suddenly there's 5 of us. What was a very useful 4-man crew turned into an even more useful 5-man crew. The venison was absolutely amazing. It took hours to cook because we had a couple of false starts.
Do you know what? It's absolutely fucking raw.
Shut up.
It is totally
Is it?
raw. Yeah.
But eventually when we got it going, oh, we wanted that food so much. It was there was something very primal about it. Like we were like animals standing around the fire for hours just waiting to eat. And then when we did eat, the satisfaction was incredible, and we all just lay down shortly afterwards and passed out. There's a bit of pink in there.
Not too pink. And the outside's just a tiny layer that permeates it. Just that little bit of
Do you know what? It wasn't that cold. Lying under that tarp, 5 like men side by side and a dog with a fire burning next to us for like a good few hours into the night. It wasn't cold. But there was a point in the night where the dog woke everyone up. Hercules woke everyone up, like growling and barking, like staring into the forest. So that was quite cool. It was good to know there were some animals around and that Hercules was protecting us from them, even though it was probably like a squirrel or something. Everyone woke up and it was like, good boy, good boy. This medley of like snoring and farting all night long. I have found 2 strange men wandering through the woods.
We're trying to find some tinder and some kindling that doesn't have frost in it, but as you can see,
Pretty much everything has frost. How long have you been doing like bushcraft and survival stuff for, mate?
about 17 years.
17 years. And what did you say about last night's camp?
Subsisting, mate. It's an absolute ball ache. It's the worst possible place we could have been, apart from the fact that the weather was on our side. We were in a bog. Everything was covered in a layer of lichen or moss. It was all. We basically slept in a swamp last night. We had the one 12-foot by 18-foot piece of dry land for about 3 miles.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, it was graft.
And you say it's the worst place you've ever wild camped?
Worst place I've ever wild camped in my life. Worst place ever.
That's a good effort. Hey, we're here though, we've seen it. We made it to the other side. Bushcraft instructor has taught his trainees well. How do you think everyone fared then, seriously?
Really well.
Yeah?
Everyone did really well.
Yeah.
Like, under the conditions, like it was fucking arduous. Yeah. And yeah, no one moaned. Everyone was really into it. Yeah, it was awesome. Gelled well, great teamwork.